Greetings and salutations. Maybe I should do this one more with the AKG C44 hooked up to it. That might be helpful. Greetings and salutations, one and all. This is Robert Phoenix, and you're a part of the Astro Weather. All right. How is everyone today or tonight, wherever you are in this great domain? It is cold. It is very cold. And the chances of it getting colder are, well, pretty good. Pretty good. And this is something that it just happens. Like we're in the realm of the outer planets, aren't we? And when we're in the realm of the outer planets, things get chilly above the northern hemisphere. So Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, right? And it takes us all the way back to Aries, which is the beginning of the season, and we get to warm up a little bit. And so the inner signs and inner planets begin to do their personal magic when springtime rolls around. So I'm just going to talk a little bit here so we have some people show up and jump on in, take a little bit of time. How about a little meet and greet with the Chatarians? Let's see who's in the house. DJ MC Michael Sisternino. What's going on, brother Mike? The new next with us, Jackie Delario from rainy Margate, New Jersey. Getting the rain on Pixie About Town in snowy Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Ooh. I like that. Ole Kobe, National Mutt Day. I've had a couple mutts in my day. Janice Phillips in the house. What's up, Janice? Misbehaving 263. Miss Nikia. Lena Winkler. We got a Janine sighting. Hello, Janine. Janice is watching the goat cam. A pregnant goat. That's what you call reality TV. Soul Traveler 2103 with us. Desiree Conrad. Look at that. What's happening, Desiree? Neil Smith, the big cheese. He's with us. Amy Gill. Lots of snow in Indiana. Sun Tzu here for a short spell. I think that really sums it up, doesn't it? In a lot of ways. Blunt Hair Talk. Oh, look at that. There is a Sandra Jack Shaw connection. SJS. What's up, Jen? Good to see you. We got Bill Smith, one Bill Smith, and we got Neil Smith, the Smith brothers, the famous cough drop duo, the lovely and talented one here in the house. Well, not quite in the house. In the car on the way to saving Austin one tooth at a time. Speaking of Austin, I was voted. I had the best podcast according to the readers of Austin Fit magazine. How about that? How about that? Do I get a plaque or a trophy or something like that? Our good friend at True Hemp Science, Chris, nominated me. And I beat out a couple of other podcasts. So for all of you 25 or 30 people who voted for me in their poll, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for making me the best podcast in Austin, even though I'm not even in Austin. I wonder if somebody will protest. Like, he's not even from Austin. He's in fucking Kerrville. He shouldn't win this award. Oh, he's not in Austin. He's disqualified. We live in that kind of world. Feels like it. Diane. Diane L. Kevras. I'm sorry. I'm making chop suey out of your name, Diane. I'm going to call you Diane. Centaur Truther, we know who that is. I think that's our friend, SJS. Snowing here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some snow in Texas. Maya Rose checking in. Good morning. Gloomy little glowworm. Gloomy little glowworm. Amy V. What's happening, Amy V? Regina, love it. See, I have dropped your numbers. That's so THX 1138. Not going there. Hang and Laundry. What's up, Hang? Rob and Dan. Marcus. In the house. Ratchet Boo. What's up? Yeah, I wouldn't make too much out of it. It's a very small publication with a limited readership. So it's not like I took down Joe fucking Rogan. Yeah, but it's a small trinket, of positivity as we continue this journey through the wasteland of our times. Let's see, who else do we have here? Night Slate, what's up, Rafi? Let's see. Give this man a YouTube play. I had that something, yeah. That probably is never going to happen in my lifetime. Central Florida got the low 70s, humid and overcast, rainy in West Central. Take the win. Thanks, Amy. I'll take the win. Bell Kel, what's up, Bell Kel? I'd vote for you easy. Pretty swanky. You don't even live there. I know, right? But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you take the win. You take the win. So, you got to take the L, but take the win when it's there. Hello, Carolyn Wallace and David Flores. Diane Lyris, thank you. Thank you, Diane. That made it a lot easier for me. I'm usually good with names. I know. YT, yeah. It's perfect. I didn't create. Yeah, I'm dropping the numbers. You're not a number. You're not a number. Bob Seeger said as much. And what the Sieg says goes. Karen was good, but God works. Yes, I would agree. Let's see. Brian Scott. What's up, Brian? Thor at the door checking in. There we go. Take that win. Take that win. I will. All right. So there we go. We got 95 peoples in the house. All right. Should we get into the weather? The weather's getting into us. That's for damn sure. But before we do, you know where I'm going. I am going to Silver-Botanicals. In our landing page here, the gifts of the Magi from the Magi bundle. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of their products for the incredibly affordable price of $79.94. That's a $20 discount, and you get the free shipping. Look at that. You get free shipping. Now, when some people say free shipping, they're like, okay, that's cool. But the shipping, the size of these bottles, these are good sized bottles. The shipping will cost you with this order because it's a lot of volume, and you get free shipping along with the 20% off. And this is the perfect blend of sort of body and wellness for this time of year. You get the Silver Tongue Oral Care, which I love to swish with. You get over on the other side, the Total Body Skin Rejuvenator. Fantastic. You get basically 2 applications to your bath, and you get that nice kind of silver nanified shield over your body. So if you're going to a place where a bunch of people are vaccinated, you probably want to take that bath before you go. So all of their shedding. bounces off your nanified shield, your nanified silver shield body. That's your secret weapon. You got the sea serum, you got the spray on deodorant, you have the the silver mist humidifier. So this is really good for humidifiers and nebulizers. And this is a time of year where you have to start to think about busting out the nebulizer. The nebulizers are good, even when you're not sick. Like, it's good to, keep your immune system online by having a little bit of their silver mist, added to water in the nebulizer. It's just an added boost for your immunity. We also, at the top of the list, the gifts from the Magi room and body spray. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. I have one poised in my bathroom at home, just in case, somebody wants to spritz. Let's say you want to spritz up in front of the mirror. Let's say you want to spritz up after, you've taken care of business, right? It's right there. Also, people carry them on them personally, and you can create that environment driving in your car. It is created with every single, not every, but yeah, I think so. I think they plundered every essential oil you can find from the Holy Land. It's all in the gift of the Magi. That's why they call it that. Sandalwood, myrrh. They had bits of monatomic gold in there. Did you know that? If you'd watched the interview with Dean and Ray, you would have known that. So even the gold that was given to baby Jesus is in there, right, monotomically. So you get it all. It's a great deal, great company, and makes a wonderful Christmas gift. Silver-Botanicals. All right. Hey, we got 105 people, 106. The temperatures are climbing. The temperature is climbing in this room. That's good. That is really good. Okay, so why don't we let's get into the weather. Okay, let me just throw this up there. We'll throw that up there. I do have a link for 15 Minutes of Flame. And these data centers have really gotten my attention. And I've been trying to work out the calculus for the effect of data centers on rural areas. And there seems to be two things happening with data centers, but both of them ultimately affect rural areas because that's where a lot of our resources come from. Anyway, the link is in the description of the show. If you want to join me at 15 Minutes of Flame, that's going to be basically an hour from now at 9:10. So there you go. All right, here we are let's start off with the moon, the great emotional resonator that is not this galaxy. Seems like it was arbitrarily put there, but it does seem to have effect on our emotions, doesn't it? So we have the moon in Taurus today. We like that Taurus moon. The moon is exalted in Taurus. We luxuriate in the senses. It is the sensuality. Venus and the moon in Taurus connect us to being in an earth body. And for me, those are like, sort of Venus of Willendorf coordinates. Big, fertile goddesses occupy the moon and Venus and Taurus. For women, for men, hey, you get a little Venus in there as well, even though I think Taurus is ruled by the earth. My son has Venus in Taurus in the 10th house. And he's starting to, shed a lot of his ugly duckling youthful awkwardness, although he was always a cute kid. And, the reviews for his drinks on like not the company's website, but, one of these rating services, they always seem to mention him and his looks as well as the drinks. So Venus in the 10th house will bring you that kind of attention. As an astrologer, I remember looking at his chart, thinking, what's he going to do with this Venus in the 12th, in the 10th house? I said, he's got to be involved in art, something artistic, something creative. Maybe he'll be a model, who knows? But that's just the nature of Taurus, right? Well, today that moon is squaring off against Pluto, and that is kind of an energy of I would call it covetousness, right? It's like wanting things that aren't yours, and it can be set in motion by any number of things. And I would say for you guys, since I feel like in many ways you're sort of a facet of a certain part of my consciousness, although not everybody is in the same degree, but we're all kind of shaped. We're all a little filigree on the diamond of this experience, right? That I would say a lot of you are probably not moved by status and what you can have or own in the material world. Like, you have what you have, you love what you have, and what you have is what you need, and maybe you have a few other luxuries. Maybe some of you are really super focused on abundance, and that's cool too. I got no problem with that, right? So maybe this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but it might apply to others in your sphere, in your space. This idea of covetousness, like, people wanting what they cannot have, that which is not theirs. So it may not be you that is doing the wanting. It could be other people who want what you have, whatever it is. It could be your peace of mind. It could be whatever it is you're about to inherit from your mother or your parents. It could be your position at work, right? This is the energy of covetousness. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And it's really just on for today, right? It's on for today. And it's also, one of these things where you hear we're going on a Christmas cruise this year. Yeah, we're going to be going down to Maya land for 10 days. Remember, my grandmother used to do that. Every now and then she'd get on a cruise ship and go to Mexico. And I remember going on the boat. They used to let you on the boat before the boat took off. They have like little parties and stuff. And then, of course, you'd have to leave the boat. And this is when cruise ships left out of San Francisco. They actually had cruise ships that would dock in San Francisco. You would never see that now. Never. I don't know when the last cruise ship disembarked from San Francisco, but it's been a while. So anyway, this energy is only really for today, right? Appreciate what you have and don't get stressed out at what you don't have. Now, if somebody, speeds past you in the diamond lane for a promotion, that's another Pluto moon square. You're like, what the fuck? What's going on with that? Right? And Jupiter is in this wide opposition with Pluto. And it's because of the degree, right? We're talking 7 degrees. So that's also has a lot to do with spending as well. And Jupiter retrograde in Cancer doesn't want to spend. It's like, no, I only need what I need. I only want to acquire things that are kind of essential, right? And it fits sort of the timing and the weather of the season itself. We pare down to essentials and basics at this time of year. And watch out for your pipes. For all you people where it's chilly and cold, this Pluto Jupiter retrograde opposition does not bode well for home plumbing. So make sure your pipes are nice and snug and they have their little cozies over them, and you leave some water running when you are there at night, right? Overnight. This is, again, and this lasts for a while. But we're just getting into that. Now, Jupiter retrograde, it's going to be 23, 22, 21. So the further it retrogrades, it moves out of that Plutonian opposition. So, yeah, and it's interesting too, because today over on 15, I'll be talking a lot about water again and the effects of using lots of rural water to power these data centers. And it's a perfect time to dive into that. Again, the link for that is the show notes. We do have some grand trine action today. Mercury, which is now direct, coming in and trining Saturn, and also direct. Trining Neptune, not direct. And trining Jupiter, not direct. But we have a grand water trine. With Mercury and Scorpio, we're getting to that Moon-Mercury opposition, and we're coming up on a full moon here. And we'll hit full moon territory 2 days from now when we get that moon in Gemini. But we are going to get the Moon-Mercury opposition. That'll be tomorrow. And let's just talk about this grand trine before we bring in the oppositional talk. This grand trine, of course, Mercury and Scorpio. It always helps to know your chart. Right? Like, where is Scorpio in your chart? Because that's where you're gonna find the keys to piloting Mercury. But if you don't know your chart, you can go to astro.com and get a copy of your chart. It's free. I think they do a good enough job. I felt like signing up for Astro Theme was a bit more of a hassle. And I like astro.com's charts. I think they're really clean. But anyway, with Mercury and Scorpio, you're following your deeper instincts and hunches. It is in the Cancerian decan. So again, tune into where you're living. Tune into your living space, especially, once again, I'll bring up the word water, because you want to make sure that you don't have to pay a shit ton of money for frozen and broken pipes. But beyond that, if you are one of these desktop researchers, today's a great day for that. I have found that the internet has become more and more dead in that area, and it's getting harder and harder to find material. Like, it's still out there, and you can yield some interesting search results with Yandex, but Google is almost like worthless at this point. If you're looking for a restaurant, or you're looking for just some stupid kind of thing that you could find on an app, like, Google will work. But anything that's deep and damning, you're not going to find on Google. They're not going to give you those search results. They'll give you 50 pages of paid rankings for the first 2 or 3 pages, and everything else is going to just be buried. So finding things on the internet is getting harder and harder and harder. But today is one of those days, if you are so inclined and you find yourself traveling down the rabbit hole, you'll find some good shit. That was the big sexy back in the day when the internet wasn't so dead. And there were websites instead of Reddit, right? There were websites instead of Facebook. There were also very interesting online communities that were apps or online sort of community products that came and went, but for a brief period of time, sheltered a group of people. There was this one guy, I forget the name of what the service was. It was a pretty cool service. His name was Michael St. Clair. And Michael St. Clair, it's not his real name. His real name was Claude Hugg, I think Claude Hugg, Hugg. And he used the name St. Clair because it sounded very, illuminated. And he had an online community, and it was buzzing for a while. And I was kind of a cause celeb because people used to repost a lot of my stuff. Back in those days, Rumor Mill News, which is still out there, used to repost a lot of my stuff. And that's just how the internet was wired. And you could just go down the one rabbit hole that led to the next rabbit hole to the next rabbit. It was really exciting. It's like, look at this, holy shit. And you can still do it. There's a whole raft of people on TikTok that are still doing this, but the means of finding the information have certainly changed. You're not just skimming the internet. Like, you got to get FOIAs. This is all next level stuff. But if you have any inclination, if you have a deep well of curiosity, the next few days are going to be really good for that. Get out your deep sea poles and go fishing. And there's a certain energy and vibration that's also internal and not external with Mercury and Scorpio. And it gets you to look within, especially if it's in that third decan, that Cancerian decan. And you look at where you came from and your roots. And I've been having some of that as well. Just kind of looking at, you get to a certain point in your life and it's more about reflection than projection. Like, you project into the future what you want your life to be like and what you want to experience. And I'm not saying that you can't do that past a certain age, but past a certain age, there tends to be more reflection than projection. And this is clearly one of those times where, we're hooking in with Jupiter and Cancer, which has to do with our roots, where we grew up, and our families and our traditions, and then Pisces sort of binds it all together, right? And Pisces is very fluid and allows us to travel and move through time. And I think some of this was really triggered with the Mercury retrograde. But now that it's moving forward, I'll tell you another really good thing for this position of Mercury is problem solving and letting your subconscious work for you. If you have an issue or a problem, or there's something you're thinking about, this is what I do. I'll think about it for a while, and then I'll drop it. And then it'll go into my subconscious and it pops up in some other way, shape, or form. And it's actually very, very effective. So that's another component of this version of Mercury as you dip into more of a subconscious mode with it. And I think it's a really good placement. I love Mercury and Scorpio. People that have it are, they've got the vision of an eagle. Sometimes they have the strategic abilities of a very intelligent reptile, right? So it's a fascinating place. I think At this degree, it might be in what, Ophiuchus. I think you're playing the Ophiuchus game. Ophiuchus just sounds, I don't know, sounds dirty, doesn't it? There's something about the word Ophiuchus that just sounds like it's like a dirty orifice or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting now with my Virgo sensibilities. Doesn't it sound a little nasty, Ophiuchus? Even if you dress it up, Ophiuchus, you put the few in there. Ooh, you got a smelly Ophiuchus. You got to take care of that Ophiuchus. Nobody's going to find you all that attractive unless you take care of your Ophiuchus. Mercury is opposing Uranus. And to me, that's the lightning bolt of inspiration. Even though Uranus is retrograde, and maybe the lightning bolt of inspiration saves you at the last minute, pulls you out of a situation you're not supposed to be in. Pay attention. Pay attention over the next week with this Mercury-Uranus opposition. Don't fall asleep. Situational awareness. This is a really, really good reminder to that end, especially as we have the moon crossing Uranus and beginning to cross Uranus on, what would that be? Thursday morning, right? So also Mercury coming in and being a part of that opposition. Thursday morning is going to be wild. Late Wednesday, Thursday morning, even the weather conditions, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a combination of thunder and snow. It would not surprise me at all. And I think the big Arctic dump is coming. And it's when that moon moves into Gemini, late stage Taurus moves into Gemini, and we could have depending on where you are, if you're digging the snow, we could have a really spectacular full moon and powdered snowy night coming in on Thursday and Friday, like really setting this part of the year off. And the dramatic weather that's associated with it, I think, is also part of the story. So get your plants inside if you need to. I did. I put some of my outdoor plants inside. Now you got to remember to water them. Let's talk about Venus coming up here on the sun. Right, they're at 8 degrees separation, but they still have a relationship. There's still a conjunction between the two. And it's a great time to get together with people and talk about high-minded subjects, philosophy, religion, the meaning of life, right? This is great. This is a great time to kind of share and accelerate ideas, which is really what Sagittarius is best at. I was talking with Chris over at True Hemp Science. We were on the phone last night, and he was lamenting about how difficult it is to find people, and obviously young people, who want to work. Right? He has a real issue with being able to keep people on to just do certain things that have to be done. And he's able to actually pay him per. By the way, if you're in the Austin area and you want a job, Austin, San Marcos, reach out to me or Chris at True Hemp Science. He's looking for at least one good person, and he pays well. He's not, and you get discounts on CBD anyway. But we were talking about why it's difficult to find good help these days. And I said, look, a lot of the people that are in the workforce are Pluto and Sag, and they are not built for work in the typical way. You know, they got Pluto in Sag and Uranus in Aquarius, or Uranus in Pisces, and Neptune in Aquarius. Those are all outer planets. They're built for more kind of future-oriented philosophical stuff. The poster boy for that is our friend Longo down in Florida. He's the poster boy because he's really, really good at it. Now, could he work at a job? He can work at a bookstore that he owns with his brother, and that's a job, right? But it's also his publishing company as well. So, when I think of Gen Z, I think of Longo, I think of Nick Fuentes, who clearly is an ideologue. Would Nick Fuentes be able to work like a regular job? I don't know. I think his true note is in Virgo, or his Mercury's in Virgo, something like that. He might be able to. But this generation is not built for that kind of labor, right? So having both those two outer planets in Aquarius, it would not surprise me at all that there will be, displaced and outsourced by artificial intelligence. And again, in a perfect world, we would have a requisite level of consciousness, but that'd be at the same level. When I say same level, I don't mean to demean the human capacity. What I mean by at the same level is that we're able to take advantage of whatever AI has to offer without sacrificing our ability and our means to accrue income, right? That there would be this one-to-one trade-off where this massive super intelligence theoretically is at our disposal, but the massive super consciousness is also at our disposal. And who knows, maybe at that point we would need AI, right? We would just have that. We would have the internet versus the internet. But, and they will get displaced based on those outer planets. And so they have to figure out a more strategic and philosophical way of going about it, how they're going to make money. Now, Gen A, on the other hand, they've got Pluto and Capricorn. They'll work, but they'll take your business over. They'll take your business over in about a year. So they'll be happy to work and get ready for a full takedown. So they've got the goods, but they're ultimately going to be yearning for like ownership and total autonomy and authority in the workspace. They're going to be very interesting, and some of them are just now really coming online. We got Mars and Sag, and it's conjunct Juno. Want to start a new project? Well, if you have the fortitude, today's the day. If you can cut through the illusion, and you can cut through the gravity, and you can cut through the entropy, today's an amazing day to start a new project. But you have to cut through all the things I just talked about. Your willingness, what keeps you from initiating something in your life, even now during the winter. What keeps you from doing that? That's where Mercury and Scorpio comes into play, right? It's like, oh yeah, that's what it is. We're pretty balanced. We got a lot of fire in the sky. We got a lot of earth. We got a fair amount of air and a lot of water. So, yeah. The triplicities, we have a bit more on the fixed and mutable side versus the cardinal side. And the one heavy hitter, Jupiter, which is in a cardinal sign, is retrograde. So sometimes it's difficult to get things started under cardinal energy, but you can shift the conditions with the mutability for sure and start to put things in play. Also, it's a good time to realize that your weaknesses can also be your strengths if you can integrate them. Inside of every hidden weakness is a hidden strength, right? Today's one of those days as we go through this March with Mars. This week is a tricky driving week. So pay attention to your chariots, and more importantly, the chariots of other people. Icy highways and arteries filled with substances. Let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. Really interesting one. And speaking of Chris, let's put the banner up here. There you go. Today's True Hemp Science star of the day is Tex Watson. If you're not familiar with Tex Watson, he was a member of the Manson family and has had a very interesting post-Manson family life, which we'll get into. But before that, please check out our sponsor, TrueHempScience.com. They have a first-time buyer discount, 20%. You can go there, sign up for that, get that, and then type in 15MINS when you check out, and you will get their fine CBD products. And there are people who are in chat who will vouch for True Hemp Science. And they will tell you that the efficacy of the product, especially the pet sounds for your pets, it's just great stuff. The gummies are a godsend. I do recommend that if you're gonna gummy up, you may want to, especially with this weather, you may want to take into account that you might be driving. I'm just saying. Anyway, TrueHempScience.com. Go there, check them out, and get 20% off as a new buyer. And type in 15MINS for the goodie bag, where you get more stuff on top of your stuff. How about that? All right, let's talk about Tex Watson. Okay, Tex Watson. Interesting character study. This is a guy who was all in, right? Mars and Leo rising. When he was in high school, he was born in Dallas. When he was in high school, he was the captain of the football team. He was the editor of the newspaper, Hello Publishing, because he's a Sagittarius. This guy was Mr. All-American, Mr. Everything, but he was also very impulsive. And Mars-Pluto, we'll get into his Mars-Pluto. It's wide enough so that he has some impulse control, right? Where he gets into a real challenge with impulse control is Uranus in the 11th house, and Uranus opposing his Sun and Mercury, right? You can see that right here. This is where his impulse control gets into trouble. And what is the 11th house? It's groups, right? It's groups. And who does he wind up with? He winds up with a really fucking weird group. He winds up with the Manson family. And Tex Watson's story is one day he's working at, I guess, what is it, DFW. To earn extra money, he would unload bags at the airport. And as a result of doing this for one of the airlines, they would give their employees tickets to go travel places. So where does Tex Watson get a ticket to travel to? LA. And remember now, this is probably around 1968, right? And he goes to LA and he's got a friend there, and he falls into psychedelia and the counterculture. And he's driving a car, and there's this guy hitchhiking. He picks him up, and it's Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, which again is they're a group. The Beach Boys are a musical group, and there's Uranus, like these strange encounters. And he has this weird penchant for synchronicity and kind of chaos magic in this chart with the Jupiter Uranus trine, Chiron trine Uranus. So yeah, pretty interesting. Right? Meets Dennis Wilson, takes Dennis Wilson to Dennis Wilson's house, and guess who's living in Dennis Wilson's house? It's the fucking Manson family. And that's how he meets up with Charlie Manson. They're hanging out at Dennis Wilson's palatial ocean mansion, right? Because Dennis Wilson thought Charlie Manson was a genius. If you go down here to his fourth house, you're going to run into Manson's Scorpio planets. And so he finds his family, right? He literally finds his family. And it is the moon and Venus and Black Moon Lilith in the fourth house. It is the Manson family. And he was tasked by Charlie, whatever you believe about what happened and who died or who didn't die, right? This guy's in prison. And they have one of the things that came out while he was in prison. And by the way, he has Saturn in the 12th house. And that is not always, but it is a penal placement, right? The 12th house represents jails. Just because Saturn, you have Saturn in the 12th house doesn't mean you'll wind up in jail. But Saturn in Cancer, which is like your home, like that's a prison. That's your home, or hospital is your home. You know, there's something about Saturn there with Cancer that's like, oh, wow. Or a monastery can be your home. You know what I mean? It's like it takes on more of a long-term lease, shall we say, with Saturn in the 12th house. And that's eventually where he winds out. But there were these recordings that came out. And again, Mercury opposing Uranus. A bunch of recordings came out where Tex Watson was on these tape recordings. And there are apparently confessions to other murders. And I think they're recordings from like a psychologist or psychiatrist or something. And by law, they're not supposed to give them up. And so that's a total Mercury-Uranus opposition. Like all of a sudden, these recordings become available. So the thing that's fascinating about Tex Watson, and it wasn't only his willingness to murder, Mars, Pluto, first house, hello, but he goes through that Sagittarian change of consciousness, and he becomes a pastor. He becomes a minister. And not only does he become a pastor and a minister, but he gets married. And up until 2023, was able to have conjugal visits, or 2021 or something like that. I think COVID might have stopped the conjugal visits. 2020, yeah, I think it was around 2021. And he's fathered like 3 or 4 kids, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Like if you're Tex Watson's kids, it's like, who's my daddy? Well, this is your daddy. He was part of the Manson family and he's in prison. Well, it's mind-blowing, right? And so once the conjugal visits changed, his wife divorced him. Tex Watson is still alive, right? So he's had prison romance. Hello, Saturn, Venus trine, Saturn, Moon trine. And he has started a ministry. He's at a kind of a low, semi-low security state prison. He's not even in a Fed, and it's in San Diego County. And the Menendez brothers are in the same prison as Tex Watson. There's somebody else. Oh, Suge Knight, right? Suge Knight is in that prison, and he's become a chaplain. He wrote a book about it. I have it. I've read part of it, and he's become a chaplain, and that's a total Sagittarian thing, right? You know, like Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Like Ozzy always had this weird penchant for using like satanic imagery and Christian imagery. Like he was, you know, kind of crossfading between the two. Watson, on the other hand, just goes full on Christian, which is not incompatible with the sign of Sagittarius. They have these conversions in their lives. Also, Tex doesn't have a lot of Earth in his chart. He like probably the best thing that ever happened to him was being in prison. To be honest, he does a podcast from prison. I guess you can. I haven't heard it, but you can pick up on Tex Watson's podcast out of this state pen in California. Right. So he's managed to have a strangely interesting post-Manson family life. And he was married to this woman for like 23 years. And I suppose his kids came and visited him. Hey, Dad, how's it going? How you doing, son? And he's been up for parole since... I think since the 80s, he's been up for parole. And every single time his parole has been denied. Even though I think he also got a degree. He got a degree. What degree did he get? I was reading about this yesterday. He got a degree in prison as well. That's not too uncommon, but it's very Sagittarian, right? Higher learning. And let's see, Charles Denton, Tex Watson. What degree did he get? Yeah, so he was eligible for parole in 1976. He's been denied parole 18 times since then. Let's see. So he was married in 1979 to Joan Svegi, and together they founded Abounding Love Ministries in 1980. Through conjugal visits, they were able to have 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. But those visits for life prisoners were banned in 1996. So, correction. After 24 years of marriage, Svegi divorced Watson after meeting another man in 2003. I'm trying to, let's see. So he's got this podcast and he got a degree, and it all happened in prison for a Sagittarius, and not just a podcast, but one that's based on Jesus, religion. Like he completely did the 180. He did the Sagittarian 180. So for all you Sagittarian reprobates out there, there's hope for you. But the problem is that when Sagittarians flip, they can be incredibly judgmental. So in May 2023, Watson started the Abounding Love podcast, consisting of sermons from 1977 to 1984. So he's replaying sermons in the chapel of the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. So these are just recordings. I don't think he's got a podcasting studio. But this guy's managed to somehow stitch together a post-Manson family life. It's 4 kids. 4 kids. Saturn in the 12th house. That'll do it. Okay. And speaking of that'll do it for today's show. Thank you all for being here. And mods, thank you for your moderation. Chatarians, thank you for your support. We will be headed over to 15 minutes. The link for the show is in the description of the show. And wishing you all a blessed day. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Take care and bye for now.